Before the sun rose, the compound of Mzee Jabari was already awake. Roosters crowed from every corner of the homestead. Goats bleated impatiently beside the wooden pens. Smoke curled slowly into the cold dawn sky as women bent over cooking stones, blowing life into stubborn fires. The compound sat on a wide stretch of red earth, surrounded by tall acacia trees and grazing land that seemed endless. Three large huts stood in a half circle, facing the main courtyard, each belonging to one of Jabari's wives. The first hut belonged to Mama Nima, the largest, the cleanest, the most respected. Beside it stood Mama Sede's hut, always loud with arguments, laughter, and children chasing one another barefoot. The last hut, slightly farther from the others, belonged to Mama Achieng, the third wife, the outsider wife. Even after 15 years in the compound, people still called her the woman from the lake people. At the center of everything stood Jabari's own hut, large and proud like a king's throne, and around all of it moved children. So many children, but among them, three girls moved as one soul divided into three bodies. Zuri, the sharp voice cut through the morning air. A girl sprang from the mango tree beside the goat pen, nearly slipping as she landed. I heard you, Zuri muttered. Mama Said stood below, with both hands on her hips. You heard me the first time too. Zuri dusted dirt from her skirt lazily. Then why keep shouting? Mama Said narrowed her eyes. One day, your mouth will marry trouble before any man does. Zuri grinned. At least trouble will choose me itself. A chuckle burst from nearby. Amara sat beside a grinding stone trying and failing not to laugh. Mama Nima immediately clicked her tongue. Amara. The girl straightened instantly. Yes, mother. You encourage foolishness with that smiling. Amara lowered her eyes respectfully, though the smile still lingered at the corner of her lips. Across the courtyard, Nali emerged, carrying a water pot almost half her size. Zuri's expression changed immediately. You went to the river alone? She demanded. Nali blinked. You were sleeping. And if you slipped, I did not slip. You could have. Amara stood quickly. Give me the pot. Before Nali could protest, Amara lifted it carefully from her hands. Mama Nima watched the exchange with visible irritation. These girls, she muttered under her breath. Mama Sad snorted. They cling to each other like vines. By sunrise, the compound buzzed with activity. Children swept the yard with palm brooms. Women washed calabashes near the cooking huts. Men prepared oxen for the fields. The smell of roasting maize drifted through the air. Zuri stole one cooling beside the fire and yelped when Mama Sadi slapped the back of her hand. Thief! I was testing if it was poisoned. Then die first, before the others. Nali burst into laughter so suddenly she nearly dropped the cups she carried. Even Amara laughed openly now. Mama Nima looked horrified. Must you laugh like market women? Zuri bit into the maize dramatically. Yes. The girls later gathered beneath the giant mango tree near the outer fence where they always escaped work for a few stolen moments. Amara braided Nali's hair carefully, while Zuri lay flat on the grass chewing sugarcane. You pull too hard, Nali complained softly. You complain too much, Amara replied. Zuri turned her head lazily. She complains because she is the favorite. Nali frowned. I am not. You are, Zuri insisted. Even goats love you for no reason. That is because she feeds them, Amara said. Exactly my point. The three dissolved into laughter. For a moment, the compound beyond them disappeared. No mothers, no rivalry, no invisible lines dividing blood, just sisters. Then footsteps approached. Their laughter died immediately. Mama Nima stood watching them with disapproval already written across her face. Amara. Her tone alone straightened the girl's back. Yes, mother. You left millet soaking. Amara rose quickly. I was coming. Mama Nima's eyes shifted briefly toward the others, especially Zuri. You spend too much time here. Zuri rolled her eyes loudly enough to be heard. Mama Nima ignored her. A girl must learn where she belongs. Amara hesitated. I was only helping to braid Nali's hair. You are not their mother. The words settled heavily. Nali looked down immediately. Zuri sat upright slowly. They are her sisters, she said coldly. Mama Nima's gaze hardened. Sisters, she repeated. Child, you are still young. You think sharing one father makes you the same. Nobody answered. Even Zuri remained silent now. Mama Nima stepped closer to Amara. One day you will marry into another home. When hardship comes, you will learn quickly that every woman protects her own blood first. She turned and walked away. The silence she left behind felt ugly. Nali stared at the ground. Amara looked torn apart inside. But Zuri stood suddenly and spat into the dust. I hate when they speak like that. Zuri, Amara warned softly. No. Her eyes burned fiercely now. They speak as though loving each other is some kind of weakness. Nali's voice came quietly. They are afraid. Zuri frowned. Afraid of what? Nali finally looked up. That we might choose each other, unlike them. The words lingered between them. Far off, drums echoed faintly from another village. Goats shuffled against wooden fences. Women called children home for chores. But beneath the mango tree, something invisible tightened quietly around the daughters of Jabari's compound. Something none of them yet understood. And from the doorway of her hut, Mama Sade watched the girls carefully with unreadable. The rains arrived 3 days later. Heavy, wild, relentless. By dawn, the compound smelled of wet earth, smoke, and soaked grass. Rainwater rushed through narrow paths between the huts, while children screamed and ran barefoot through puddles despite their mother's threats. Inside Mama Nima's hut, Amara knelt beside the fire, grinding groundnuts quietly. Her mother sat across from her, sorting dried beans with the concentration of a queen inspecting jewels. For a while, only rain spoke between them. Then, you embarrass me. Amara's grinding stone slowed. Mother? Mama Nima did not look up. You follow those girls everywhere. Amara sighed softly. They are my sisters. The older woman dropped a handful of beans sharply into the basket. There is that word again. Amara remained silent. Mama Nima finally lifted her eyes. You are the daughter of the first wife. Do you understand what that means? Yes, mother. Do you? Her voice sharpened. One day, this compound will split itself apart over inheritance, marriage alliances, cattle, and land. When that day comes, do you think those girls will stand beside you? Amara swallowed carefully. Yes. Mama Nima laughed once, coldly. You are still a child. Across the compound, peace was also dying. Inside Mama Sad's hut, Zuri sat near the doorway, carving shapes into a piece of wood with a small knife while her mother pounded cassava aggressively. Your father received visitors yesterday, Mama Sada announced. Zuri barely looked up. So? They came asking questions. What kind of questions? Mama Sada stopped pounding. About Amara. The knife paused in Zuri's hand. And? They have a son. Zuri stared, then laughed. Amani, the tall one who walks like his neck hurts. Show respect. He looks frightened of chickens. Mama Sadie almost smiled before catching herself. You joke too much. Zuri tossed the wood aside. So, some family wants Amara. Why are you telling me? Because this is how it begins. Something in her mother's tone made Zuri uncomfortable. The girls will marry soon. After marriage, nothing remains the same. Zuri frowned. You talk as if marriage is a funeral. For women, Mama Sade said bitterly. Sometimes it is. That afternoon, the rain finally weakened. The three girls gathered beneath the shelter of the granary, while thunder grumbled far away in the hills. Nali arrived carrying roasted maize hidden inside her wrapper. Zuri's eyes widened immediately. You stole from your mother? Nali smiled shyly. She saw me. Amara gasped dramatically and allowed it. She said I should share with you before Zuri steals from the kitchen again. Zuri placed a hand on her chest. The disrespect in this compound grows daily. The girls burst into laughter. Nali handed them the maize carefully. For a while, they ate in peace, listening to rain drip from the rooftops. Then Amara grew unusually quiet. Zuri noticed immediately. What? Nothing. You have that face. What face? The face you make before bad news. Nali nodded seriously. It is true. Your eyebrows become sad first. Amara laughed despite herself. You two are impossible. Zuri leaned forward. Tell us. Amara hesitated. Then quietly. A family came asking about me. The laughter disappeared. Nali blinked first. For marriage? Amara nodded weakly. Zuri sat upright immediately. Already? I heard mother speaking this morning. Nali's voice softened. Who is he? I do not know. That is worse. Zuri muttered. Amara pulled at loose threads on her skirt. I think father is interested. Zuri scoffed loudly. Of course he is. Men hear cattle and suddenly become deaf to everything else. Zuri. No, tell me I am lying. Amara could not. Rain dripped steadily outside. Nali reached for Amara's hand gently. Maybe he is kind. Zuri turned sharply. Kindness is not enough. What else matters? Nali asked quietly. Zuri looked toward the courtyard where men passed carrying sacks beneath the fading rain. Choice. The word landed heavily. Amara stared at her. You always speak as though choice belongs to us. It should. That is not how things are. Zuri's jaw tightened. Then maybe things are wrong. A sudden scream shattered the moment. The girls jumped. Outside the granary, two young boys sprinted across the courtyard yelling excitedly. Bull! Bull! Chaos erupted instantly. One of Jabari's strongest bulls had broken loose from its pen. Women shouted, children scattered, goats bleated wildly. The massive animal charged through the muddy compound furiously, rope dragging behind it. Move! Someone screamed. Nali froze in panic. The bull thundered directly toward her. Everything happened fast. Amara shoved Nali hard out of the way, but slipped in the mud. The bull roared violently. Amara! Zuri screamed. Without thinking, Zuri grabbed a burning stick from a nearby fire and ran straight toward the animal. Hey! The bull turned wildly. Villagers shouted in horror. Zuri waved the flaming wood recklessly, mud splashing up her legs. Come then! The animal snorted furiously, but finally veered away toward the outer fence where men quickly trapped it again. Silence crashed over the courtyard. Rainwater dripped from rooftops. Everyone stared at Zuri. Mama Seda looked moments away from fainting. And Amara! Amara sat breathless in the mud, staring at her sister like she had never seen her before. Then, suddenly, she began laughing, not politely, not softly, real laughter, shocked laughter, relieved laughter. You are mad, she gasped. Zuri dropped the stick, breathing hard. Yes, she snapped. Mad enough to save your life, apparently. Nali rushed forward and threw her arms around both of them at once. The three girls collapsed together in the mud, laughing breathlessly while the entire compound watched. And from beneath the doorway of his hut, Mzee Jabari observed them silently, his expression unreadable. But nearby, the wives watched too, and none of them was smiling. The morning after the bull incident, the compound felt different. Not louder, not busier, heavier. Even the goats seemed careful with their movements, as if the earth itself remembered what had happened. The girls were no longer just daughters of Jabari. They were now talked about. Amara woke to the sound of whispered voices outside Mama Nima's hut. She fell in the mud like a child. That second wife's daughter is dangerous. And the third one, always watching like she knows secrets. Amara sat up slowly, heart tightening. Mother, she called softly. No answer. She stepped outside. Mama Nima stood near the cooking stones, stirring porridge too slowly. Amara. Yes, mother. Sit. The tone was not soft. Amara obeyed. Mama Nima placed the wooden spoon down and finally turned. You embarrassed this household yesterday. Amara blinked. I saved Nali. You followed Zuri's madness. Amara frowned. It was not madness. The bull would have. Mama Nima cut her off sharply. Do you think men marry girls who chase bulls with fire? Silence. Amara's voice lowered. I did not think about marriage. Mama Nima leaned closer. That is the problem. Across the compound, Zuri was also being punished. But differently, Mama Sade had her seated beside the grinding stones under the morning sun, arms folded, expression sharp. You want to act like a warrior. Zuri shrugged. I acted like a sister. Mama Sade's eyes narrowed. You acted like a fool. Zuri looked up. If Amara died yesterday, would you call it foolish then? The question hit like a stone. Mama Sade went still for a moment. Then her voice dropped. You do not understand what you are doing. Zuri frowned. I understand perfectly. No, her mother said quietly. You are building something in your head that this world will destroy. Zuri stood abruptly. Then maybe this world deserves to break. Mama Said grabbed her arm. Do not speak like that in this compound. Zuri pulled away sharply. Why? Because truth is dangerous here. Mama Said stared at her daughter for a long moment, then said coldly, because girls who speak like that end up alone. Nali was the only one not scolded that morning, but she felt it anyway, because silence in Mama Achieng's heart was never peace. It was warning. Her mother sat folding clothes carefully, too carefully. Nali watched her. Mother, Mama Achieng did not look up. You are too close to them. Nali blinked. I am their sister. A pause. Then, no, her mother said softly. You are your own life. Nali stepped closer. What does that mean? Mama Achieng finally met her eyes. When the time comes, no one will stand in front of you. That sentence lingered like smoke. Nali felt cold suddenly. Even Amara? Mama Achieng hesitated, then said nothing, which was worse than yes. By midday, the compound was hosting visitors again. This time, not for celebration, but for observation. 3 families arrived, 3 sons, 3 marriage proposals, forming quietly like storms. Under the shade of the large fig tree, Mzee Jabari sat with the elders. The girls were called, one by one, like cattle being inspected. Amara was first. She stood straight, hands folded tightly. The eldest suitor, a calm young man named Tembi, spoke politely. My family honors yours. We come with respect. Mzee Jabari nodded. And your intentions? To ask for Amara's hand. Silence. Amara felt her throat tighten. Zuri, standing slightly behind the women, muttered under her breath, "Hand!" like she is a pot. Nali elbowed her quickly. Mama Nima shot her a warning glance. The elders began discussing cattle, negotiating, measuring. Amara stood still as if she were not present. Then suddenly, Zuri stepped forward. "I have a question." Gasps. Mama Said's eyes widened. "Zuri," she hissed. But Zuri ignored her. She looked directly at Tembi. "If she says no, do you leave?" The courtyard froze. Tembi blinked. Tradition." Zuri cut in sharply. "That is not an answer." Murmurs erupted. Mzee Jabari's voice thundered suddenly. "Zuri." She turned to him. "Yes, father. You are not the one being discussed." Zuri held his gaze. "Then why does it feel like we are?" Dead silence. Amara's heart pounded violently. Mama Nima grabbed her arm tightly. "Apologize." Amara hesitated. Then quietly, "Zuri, stop." Zuri looked at her. Something passed between them. Pain, confusion, fear, and something deeper. Trust breaking for the first time. Zuri stepped back slowly. "I am sorry," she said flatly. But she did not sound sorry. Later that evening, the girls met behind the granary. The air between them was different. Not broken, but strained. Amara spoke first. "You should not have done that." Zuri leaned against the wall. "Done what?" "Asked if you are allowed to choose your own life?" Nali whispered. "They will think you are disrespectful now." Zuri scoffed. "They already think that." Amara looked away. "This is serious." Zuri's voice softened slightly. "So am I." Silence, a long one. Then Amara said quietly, "You are making things harder for me." That sentence landed heavily. Zuri went still. Nali looked between them, suddenly uneasy. Zuri finally spoke. "So now I am the problem." "I did not say that." "You did not have to." Amara's voice rose slightly. "I am trying to survive this." Zuri stepped forward. "And I am trying to stop you from becoming someone you hate." The words hung there, sharp, unforgiving. Amara looked shaken. Nali whispered desperately, "Please, we are sisters." That word softened nothing this time. Zuri exhaled slowly. "Are we?" The question broke something invisible. Amara flinched. Zuri's eyes flickered, regret almost appearing. But before it could form fully, she turned and walked away. That night, Mama Nima spoke to Mama Sade and Mama Achieng outside the cooking huts. Their voices were low, careful, but not kind. "She is becoming dangerous," Mama Nima said. Mama Sad replied immediately, "They are all becoming too close." Mama Achieng said nothing at first, then quietly, "Or too aware." The other two women turned to her. Mama Achieng continued folding cloth. "Girls who know each other too well do not fear separation." Mama Nima frowned. "That is exactly the problem." Mama Achieng looked up slowly. "No," she said softly. "The problem is when they begin to believe they are one life instead of three." A long silence followed. Somewhere in the compound, a dog barked once, then stopped. And for the first time since the daughters were born, their mothers agreed on something without saying it aloud. Something in the compound had to be broken before it grew stronger. The compound did not wake up that morning. It stirred, like something uneasy turning in its sleep. Amara rose before dawn, but she did not go to the cooking fire. She sat outside Mama Nima's hut, knees drawn to her chest, watching mist crawl across the ground. Inside, she could hear her mother moving, not speaking, just moving, slow, deliberate, like someone deciding what must be done. Across the compound, Zuri was already awake. She was sharpening a small knife beside the grinding stone, not for food, not for work, just sharpening. Mama Said watched her from the doorway. You are thinking too loudly, she said. Zuri didn't look up, then stopped listening. Mama Sade stepped closer. You embarrassed your father yesterday. Zuri finally paused. I spoke. That is the same thing here. Zuri's jaw tightened. I only asked a question. Mama Sade's voice dropped. You asked it in front of men. Zuri stood slowly. So I should ask who? The silence. Like a good daughter. Mama Sade's eyes hardened. In your heart. Zuri laughed once. A heart does not change a life, mother. Mama Sade studied her for a long moment, then said quietly, You are not ready for what is coming. Zuri's voice softened slightly. Marriage? No, the mother replied. Separation. Nali was the last to wake. She found Amara sitting alone outside and hesitated before stepping closer. Amara. Amara didn't look up. Nali sat beside her carefully. You didn't sleep. Amara shook her head. They are deciding things without us. Nali understood immediately. About the suitors. Amara nodded. A pause. Then Nali whispered, Do you think Zuri will leave us? That question made Amara finally look at her. No, she said firmly, but her voice lacked certainty. Nali hugged her knees tighter. She is changing. Amara exhaled slowly. She is not changing. She is just loud. Nali gave a small sad smile. Loud things are the first to be removed. By mid-morning, the compound was full of visitors again. This time, the atmosphere was not polite. It was strategic. Men sat under the fig tree with Mzee Jabari, speaking in low voices. Women gathered at the edges of courtyards, watching, whispering, measuring. And the girls were brought out again, but separately. Amara stood first, dressed carefully, hair braided neatly, eyes lowered. The suitor spoke gently. You are well spoken of in our home. Amara nodded politely. My family is honored. Behind her, Mama Nima's voice was calm. She will bring order to any household. Amara flinched slightly at the word household. Not life, not the future. Household. Something owned, something built, something contained. Zuri was called next. She walked out barefoot, unconcerned with appearances. The warrior suitor studying her did not smile. You are said to be strong, he said. Zuri tilted her head. Strong or stubborn? He paused. Both. Zuri shrugged. I prefer honest descriptions. A few elders murmured disapproval. Mama Sade stepped forward quickly. She is learning humility. Zuri turned sharply. I am standing right here. Silence. Then the warrior asked, Would you obey your husband? Zuri smiled slowly. That depends on whether he deserves obedience. Gasps. Mama Sade closed her eyes briefly. Mzee Jabari's voice cut through sharply. Enough. Zuri didn't move, but something inside her was already burning brighter. Nali came last. She walked slowly, like someone entering a room where she had already been judged. The trader from the distant village barely looked at her. She is quiet, he said. Mama Acheng nodded. She listens well. Nali felt her stomach tighten. No one asked her anything. No one spoke to her. They spoke about her, as if she were already gone. That evening, the girls met behind the granary again. But the air was different, tighter, fragile. Amara spoke first. They have chosen already. Zuri leaned against the wall. No one has chosen anything yet. Amara looked at her sharply. You don't understand what I heard. Zuri crossed her arms. Then tell me. Amara hesitated. They said I should be calm, accepting, easy to manage. Zuri scoffed. Manage. Nali spoke quietly. The trader said I am suitable. Zuri frowned. Suitable for what? Nali didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Silence stretched between them. Then Amara said softly, "Mother says it is good." Zuri straightened immediately. "Of course she does." Amara looked hurt. "Do not speak about her like that." Zuri stepped forward. "Then tell me she's wrong." Amara hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Zuri exhaled sharply. "So it is decided." Nali's voice trembled slightly. "Maybe it is not so bad." Zuri turned to her immediately. "Do not do that." Nali blinked. "Do what?" "Shrink yourself to survive." The words hit Nali hard. Amara stepped between them quickly. "Stop it." Zuri looked at both of them. Something cracked in her expression. Anger mixed with fear. "You are both acting like this is normal." Amara's voice rose slightly. "It is normal." That made Zuri pause. Amara continued, breath uneven. "This is how things are. We are not the ones who decide." Zuri stared at her. Quiet now. Dangerously quiet. Then she said, "Then I refuse to become normal." Amara shook her head. "You are making everything worse." Zuri's voice softened. "No, I am making it visible." A sudden shout echoed from the compound. A servant boy ran past them. "Fire! Fire in Mama Nima's hut!" The girls froze. Then everything broke into motion. Smoke rose into the evening sky. People ran shouting. Buckets passed hand to hand. Water splashed against burning wood. Amara stood frozen for half a second, then ran. "Mother!" Zuri grabbed her arm. "Wait!" But Amara pulled free and disappeared into the chaos. By the time they reached Mama Nima's hut, half the roof was already burning. Women screamed. Men shouted orders. The fire was controlled quickly, but damage was done, and in the center of it all stood Mama Nima, covered in ash. Amara arrived first, barefoot, breathless. "Mother!" She grabbed a bucket from a passing woman and threw water toward the flames. Steam exploded upward, violently. Behind her, Nali appeared, coughing from smoke. "Is anyone inside?" she cried. "No!" someone shouted. "Everyone escaped." But Mama Nima did not move. She only stared, not at the fire, at someone else. Zuri stood a few steps away from the crowd, still, watching, not helping, not speaking, just watching. Mama Said appeared beside her daughter immediately. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. Zuri blinked. "I heard shouting." Mama Said's eyes narrowed. "Go help." Zuri nodded and took a step forward, then stopped, because Mama Nima was walking toward her, slowly, like a storm deciding where to fall. The fire was beginning to weaken when Mama Nima spoke, but her voice cut sharper than the crackling flames. "You!" The entire compound turned. Zuri frowned. "What?" Mama Nima pointed at her. "You did this!" Silence dropped instantly. Even the fire seemed quieter. Zuri stared at her, then laughed once, a short, disbelieving sound. "I beg your pardon?" Mama Nima's voice rose. "You think I do not see? You think I do not hear what you whisper? Your jealousy, your bitterness, your hatred for your sister." Amara froze. Nali's hand flew to her mouth. Zuri's smile disappeared. "What are you talking about?" Mama Nima stepped closer. "You cannot stand that Amara is chosen before you." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Zuri's eyes widened slightly. "Amara?" Mama Nima's voice sharpened. "You have always envied her. Always." Zuri shook her head slowly. "This is madness." Mama Nima pointed at the burning remains of her hut. "You were seen near here earlier." "That is not proof of anything." Mama Sade stepped forward quickly. "Nima, stop this." But Mama Nima did not stop. She was already burning with something stronger than fire. "I know your type," she said coldly. "A girl who smiles in front of her sister but carries poison in her heart." Zuri's voice dropped dangerously. Say what you want to say, clearly. Mama Nima stepped right in front of her now. You set this fire because you cannot accept that Amara is being chosen, and you are not. A stunned silence. Amara took a step forward. No, mother, that's not. But Zuri lifted a hand slightly, stopping her. Her eyes were fixed on Mama Nima, not blinking, not moving. Then softly, you are accusing me of burning your heart because your daughter is being chosen for marriage. Mama Nima didn't flinch. Yes, something inside Zuri cracked, not loudly, quietly, dangerously. She nodded slowly. Interesting. Mama Saad grabbed her daughter's arm. Zuri, don't. But Zuri gently pulled away. She stepped forward one pace, then another, until she stood directly in front of Mama Nima and spoke very softly. If I wanted your heart gone, you would still be screaming inside it. A gasp went through the crowd. Amara's heart dropped. Nali, Zuri, stop. But Zuri continued, voice trembling now. Not with fear, but restraint. I do not need jealousy to be noticed. I am already loud enough. Mama Nima's eyes hardened. You speak like this because you think your father protects you. Zuri laughed again, this time bitter. No. I speak like this because I have nothing to lose from the truth. Silence. Heavy. Burning. Mzee Jabari finally stepped forward. His presence alone shifted the air. Enough. Everything quieted immediately. He looked at the remains of the hut, then at Mama Nima, then at Zuri. His voice was calm, but final. Nima, you are certain? Mama Nima didn't hesitate. Yes. Zuri's eyes widened slightly. For the first time, something like disbelief flickered across her face. Amara stepped forward quickly. Father, she did it. But Jabari raised his hand. Silence. He turned to Zuri. Where were you when the fire started? Zuri swallowed once. I was near the granary. Alone? No. His gaze sharpened. Who saw you? Zuri opened her mouth, then paused. Because no one had been watching her. Not clearly, not fully. The hesitation was enough. Murmurs spread instantly. Nali whispered urgently to Amara. This is not right. Amara's eyes were filled with panic. This is going too far. Zuri looked at both of them briefly, then back at her father. I did not burn her heart. Her voice was steady now. I swear it. Mama Nima scoffed sharply. Words mean nothing. Zuri turned her head slowly toward her. And for the first time, anger sharpened into something colder. Then, what does? Mama Nima stepped forward again. Actions. And you have shown enough. Zuri nodded once, slowly, as if accepting something she refused to believe. Then she said quietly, so, this is how it begins. Amara shook her head desperately. Zuri, please. Just apologize, please. Zuri looked at her and smiled faintly, but it did not reach her eyes. You think this is about an apology? Amara froze. Zuri continued softly. This is about what they already decided about me. Before the fire even started. Silence. Heavy silence. Then Jabari spoke again. Until we know the truth, Zuri will remain under watch. Gasps. Mama Said stepped forward. Immediately. No, she is my daughter. Jabari's voice did not change, and she is still under this compound's authority. Zuri didn't resist. She didn't argue. She just stood still, watching everything she thought was unbreakable begin to shift. As she was led away by two elders, Zuri stopped briefly beside Amara. Amara reached for her hand. Zuri. Zuri looked at her sister. Not angry now, not loud, just tired. You should go, she said softly. Amara shook her head. No. Zuri gave a faint, broken smile. When they start choosing sides, love becomes a weakness. Amara's voice trembled. I am not choosing anyone. Zuri nodded slightly. I know. Then she let go of her hand and walked away into the watching crowd. That night, the compound did not sleep. It whispered. It divided itself quietly, and for the first time since childhood, the three girls did not meet behind the granary, because something had finally been named between them: suspicion. And once suspicion enters a sisterhood, it never leaves quietly. The morning after Zuri was taken under watch, the compound did not greet the sun the same way. There was no laughter from the granary, no teasing between grinding stones. Even the goats seemed quieter, as if they understood that something had shifted in the soil of Jabari's homestead. Zuri was no longer moving freely. And in a compound like this, absence was never just absence. It was a message. Amara woke before dawn, but this time, she did not step outside. She sat inside Mama Nima's hut, watching her mother prepare tea in silence. Mama Nima had not spoken much since the fire, not to her daughters, not to her co-wives, only to the elders, and even then, carefully. Finally, Amara broke. Mother. Mama Nima didn't look up. If you're going to speak about that girl, don't. Amara stiffened. She is not just that girl. She is my sister. That word again. Mama Nima placed the cup down slowly. You are clinging to something that will destroy you. Amara frowned. Zuri would never hurt you. Mama Nima laughed once, sharp and tired. People do not hurt you because they plan it, Amara. A pause, then softer, colder. They hurt you because you stand in their way. Amara's voice shook slightly. She is not my enemy. Mama Nima finally looked at her. Then you will learn what happens when the world decides otherwise. Zuri sat under the old guava tree near the edge of the compound. Not tied, not locked, but watched. Always watched. An elderly woman sat a few steps away, pretending to weave a basket but never looking away for long. Zuri noticed everything. The distance, the silence, the way even children avoided her now. Mama Sad arrived carrying food. She did not sit immediately. She just stood there, staring at her daughter. Zuri looked up. You brought food or judgment? Mama Sad's jaw tightened. Eat. Zuri glanced at the bowl. I'm not hungry. That is not a choice. Zuri gave a small, dry laugh. Everything is a choice. You people just don't like mine. Mama Said finally sat beside her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then softly, do you understand what they are doing to you? Zuri looked away. They are waiting for me to break. Mama Said nodded once. Yes. Zuri turned slightly. And you? A pause. Mama Said's voice lowered. I am waiting to see if you will survive them. That honesty landed heavier than accusation. Zuri swallowed. I did not burn that hot. I know, Mama Sade said immediately. Zuri froze slightly. Mama Sade continued quietly. But knowing and proving are not the same thing. A long silence. Then Zuri asked, why didn't you defend me harder? Mama Sade didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was strained. Because I am one woman in a house that has already decided who you are. Zuri stared at her. For the first time, something like pain flickered across her face. The compound of Jabari no longer felt like one home. It felt like three separate wars happening in the same space. The fire had burned more than Mama Nima's heart. It had burned trust. And what remained was suspicion. Alive, spreading, and hungry. That morning, Mzee Jabari called the compound together again. But this time, his voice was not calm. It was final. You will stop behaving like strangers in my home. No one responded. His gaze moved slowly across the daughters. Amara, Zuri, Nali. Then he said, marriage discussions continue, and they will be concluded. A murmur rose instantly. This was not new, but something about the way he said it made it final, like a door closing. Mama Nima stepped forward immediately. Our daughter Amara will not be delayed any further. Mama Sade's head snapped up. Zuri turned slowly. Mama Sade replied sharply, neither will mine. The air changed. Amara looked up. Zuri stiffened. Nali felt it first, the invisible line being drawn in real time. Mama Acheng said nothing, but her silence was no longer peaceful. It was far away. That afternoon, the first suitor returned. Tembi, calm, wealthy, respected. He arrived with elders and cattle negotiators. This time, he did not ask. He offered. Amara stood beside Mama Nima as cattle were counted aloud. 10 heads, one elder announced. Mama Nima did not blink. Not enough. Amara turned sharply. Mother. Mama Nima didn't look at her. This is your future. Amara whispered urgently. I don't even know him. Mama Nima finally turned. You will know him after marriage. That sentence landed like a stone. Zuri, standing nearby under supervision, laughed softly. Congratulations, she muttered. Amara turned to her sharply. Zuri met her eyes. Not joking now. Something colder. You are the chosen one now. Amara's voice dropped. I didn't ask for this. Zuri nodded. No one does. Then Zuri walked away. Not slowly, not angrily, like someone already deciding what comes next, but completely. Amara stepped back, as if struck. Nali's eyes filled with panic. Please. But neither girl moved toward each other. For the first time since childhood, they stood on opposite sides of the same life. And the compound of Jabari finally understood. The fire was not the beginning. It was only the spark. The real destruction had started when love was turned into competition. Chapter 6. The compound had learned a new habit. It listened. Not for joy, not for news, but for damage. Every sound now felt like it might be the beginning of something breaking. It started with something small. A necklace. A simple, beaded necklace Amara had been gifted by Tembi's family during early negotiations, meant to signal respect, acceptance, and rising status. It disappeared. No one saw it taken. No one saw it hidden. But by afternoon, everyone saw where it turned up. Inside Zuri's woven basket. Zuri found it herself. She froze, then laughed once, short, sharp. This is foolish. She held it up. Nali, standing nearby, shook her head immediately. That is not yours. Zuri nodded. I know. But by then, footsteps were already approaching. Mama Nima, Mama Sade, and behind them, Amara. Mama Nima stopped when she saw it. Silence. Then, her eyes narrowed. Explain. Zuri stepped forward immediately. This is not mine. Mama Sade tilted her head. Then why is it in your things? Zuri exhaled slowly. Someone placed it there. A soft laugh from Mama Nima. Who? Zuri looked directly at her. I don't know. Mama Nima's voice sharpened. You expect us to believe that a bride price gift from Amara's suitor walked into your basket by itself? Amara's face changed instantly. Zuri. Zuri turned sharply. I did not take it. But Amara was already looking at her differently, not fully believing, but no longer fully certain. That was the beginning of the damage. Nali stepped forward quickly. Amara, listen, this does not make sense. But Mama Sade cut her off. Stay out of it. Nali froze. Mama Sade continued coldly. This is between sisters. Zuri's eyes narrowed at that word. Sisters don't plant lies on each other. Mama Nima stepped closer. Or maybe sisters grow jealous when one is chosen first. That sentence hit Amara harder than anything else. Her eyes flickered. Zuri noticed immediately. Pain flashed across her face. Amara, she said softer now, you know me. Amara hesitated. That hesitation was enough. Zuri stepped back slowly. Of course, she muttered. You know me. Until it becomes inconvenient. By evening, the story had already changed. It was no longer a missing necklace. It was, Zuri has been interfering with Amara's marriage. Zuri is jealous of her sister's rise. Zuri cannot accept being second. And in a compound like Jabari's, stories grew legs. Mzee Jabari called the compound together. Again. But this time, there was no calm in his voice, only exhaustion. Enough of this. The women stood apart. The daughters stood apart. Even the air felt divided. Jabari pointed at Zuri. This accusation will be addressed. Zuri stood straight. I did not take it. Mama Nima stepped forward. We found it in her belongings. Zuri turned sharply. Place there. A murmur spread. Amara finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but it cut deep. Zuri, just tell the truth. That sentence broke something invisible. Zuri stared at her. Even you? Amara swallowed. I just want peace. Zuri nodded slowly. You want peace. A pause. Then softer. Or you want certainty that I am the problem. Amara flinched. An elder spoke loudly. A bride price gift is not something that walks into a basket by mistake. Laughter. Not kind, not loud, but enough. Zuri felt it. Everywhere. Mama Saad watched her daughter carefully, but did not intervene. That silence hurt more than accusation. Zuri turned to her mother. Say something. Mama Saad's jaw tightened. This is not the place. Zuri's voice rose slightly. It is exactly the place. But Mama Sade looked away. That was the moment Zuri understood. She was alone on purpose. Amara stepped forward again. Her voice shook slightly now. Zuri, if you took it, just return it. Please. That sentence landed wrong. Very wrong. Zuri stared at her, and something inside her finally changed shape. You think I would steal from you? Amara didn't answer quickly enough. And that delay, that small, human delay, became the answer. Zuri laughed. Not loudly, not wildly, just bitterly. I see. She nodded slowly. I understand now. Amara reached out. Zuri. But Zuri stepped back. No. Her voice was quiet now. Controlled. Final. You don't get to call me sister when it is convenient. Silence swallowed the courtyard. Even the elders stopped speaking. Zuri turned to Jabari. I will not defend myself again for things I did not do. Then she looked at Amara one last time. Not angry, not loud, just finished. You already chose what you believe. Amara whispered. I didn't mean. But Zuri shook her head. You did. A pause, then softly. And that is worse. Zuri walked away from the fig tree. No one stopped her. No one called her back. Not even Mama Said. Amara stood frozen, tears forming but not falling. Nali reached for her hand. But Amara pulled away gently. Confused. Lost. Something inside her had been planted too. That night, the compound did not sleep. It repeated the story. Each time is slightly different. Each time slightly worse. And by dawn, Zuri was no longer a sister accused. She was a label, a suspicion that had taken human form. And Amara was no longer just a daughter. She was the girl who did not defend her sister enough. And in Jabari's compound, that was how wars truly began. Zuri did not speak to Amara anymore. Not out of anger, out of calculation, because anger burns fast. But silence waits. And Zuri had begun to wait like someone who no longer believed in forgiveness. It started with a small correction, a truth, spoken at the wrong time. During a gathering with Tembi's family, Amara stood beside Mama Nima as negotiations continued. The air was tense but controlled, until Zuri spoke from the edge of the crowd. Ask them about the debt, she said calmly. Silence. Mzee Jabari turned sharply. What debt? Zuri's eyes stayed on the visiting elders. The one in Tembi's household has been hiding. Here, negotiating cows, yet debts, haven't been paid, she added. A ripple moved through the group. Amara turned slowly. Zuri. But Zuri continued. I heard it from the traders near the river market. Tembi's uncle stiffened. That is not your concern. Zuri nodded. I agree. A pause, then softly. But it becomes Amara's concern the moment she is married into it. That evening, Tembi's family left earlier than expected. No final agreement, no cattle exchange, only tension carried out like an unwanted guest. Mama Nima's face was pale with anger. This is sabotage, she hissed. Zuri stood calmly. No, she said. It is information. Amara turned sharply. You did this on purpose. Zuri looked at her. I prevented you from walking into a lie. Amara stepped forward. You destroyed it. Zuri's voice stayed steady. No, I exposed it. Silence. Then Amara whispered. You did this because of what happened to you. That sentence hit differently. Zuri paused, then nodded slowly. Yes. Honesty. Not denial. Not softness. Just truth, without apology. And that made it worse. Later that night, Amara found Zuri behind the granary, waiting, as if she had expected this moment. Amara's voice shook. You humiliated me. Zuri didn't deny it. I stopped you from being used. Amara laughed bitterly. You don't get to decide that. Zuri stepped closer. I already did. That silence between them was sharp now, not emotional, strategic. Amara's eyes filled. You are destroying everything I have been working for. Zuri tilted her head slightly. You mean everything your mother has been working for? That landed. Amara froze. Zuri continued quietly. Tell me something, Amara. When did you stop speaking for yourself? A pause. Amara whispered, I am speaking for my future. Zuri nodded. No. You are repeating what you were told is your future. Silence. Then Amara's voice cracked. You are not the only one who is suffering. Zuri's expression softened for half a second, then closed again. I know. A beat. But I stopped waiting for someone to notice. Amara stepped forward suddenly. Do you think this makes you strong? Zuri didn't move. No. I think it makes me free. Amara shook her head. You are ruining my marriage. Zuri's voice sharpened slightly. A marriage you didn't want. And I am protecting you from a cage you are calling a wedding. That was it. The breaking point. Amara slapped her. The sound caught through the night, like a crack in wood. Silence fell instantly. Even the insects seemed to stop. Amara stood shaking. Zuri did not touch her face, did not react immediately. Then slowly, she smiled. Not kindly, not warmly, but like someone confirming something they already knew. So, it has begun. Nali saw everything. Not just the slap, not just the argument, but something deeper. The timing, the planted words, the accidental overheard truths. The way accusations always arrived just before key negotiations. She turned sharply and ran. She went straight to Mama Achieng, the quietest one, the observer, the one no one ever accused, because she never spoke loudly enough to be dangerous. But Nali spoke first. It is not Zuri. Mama Achieng didn't look up. Nali continued urgently. She is being set up. Silence. Then Mama Achieng finally met her eyes. By whom? Nali hesitated. Then, someone who benefits every time Amara and Zuri break. A pause. Then realization flickered. Mama Aching's voice lowered. You are saying this is not a conflict. Nali shook her head. It is an arrangement. Silence stretched. Then Mama Aching stood slowly and said something very quiet. Then the war was never between sisters. That night, Nali watched from a distance. Amara sat alone. Zuri sat alone. Two girls in the same compound. Two girls shaped into enemies by information that always arrived at the right time. And Nali finally understood something that made her stomach tighten. No one had been guessing. Someone had been guiding. Every misunderstanding, every suspicion, every timing of truth, deliberate. And somewhere inside Jabari's compound, the real hand behind it all was still calm. Because the sisters were too busy fighting each other to notice the strings. And for the first time, Nali was no longer watching a rivalry. She was watching a plan unfold. Nali found her mother behind the cooking huts that morning. Mama Acheng was grinding millet slowly, as if time itself had become something to delay. Nali did not sit. Mother, it was you. Mama Acheng did not stop grinding. Nali's voice shook. You did it. The necklace, the lies, the burning of Mama Nima's hurt. All of it. Silence. Then Mama Acheng spoke calmly. I did what was necessary. Nali stepped closer. You destroyed them. Her mother finally looked up. No. A pause. I separated weakness from opportunity. Nali's breath tightened. You made them hate each other. Mama Acheng nodded once. And in doing so, I secured you a place no one could take. Nali shook her head. I never asked for that. Mama Acheng stood slowly. In this compound, no woman gets what she asks for. A beat. Only what she survives. Nali's voice broke. They were my sisters. Mama Acheng stepped closer. Half sisters. And you are the one who remained. A silence fell between them, then softer, almost like a warning. You were always the outsider. Nali, just like me. Nali flinched. I was not going to let my daughter suffer the same fate. Mama Acheng continued. Even in your father's house, you were the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one no one fought for. Nali's eyes filled. That does not mean you divide a home. Mama Acheng's voice hardened slightly. It means I will shine brighter than them. By the time Tembi's family returned, everything had nearly collapsed. The accusations had spread, the trust had dissolved, and Amara stood at the center of it all. No longer a bride, but a question. Tembi's uncle spoke sharply under the fig tree. This union cannot continue. Murmurs followed. Amara's hands trembled. Mama Nima's face was pale. Zuri stood at a distance, watching silently, already emotionally gone. Then Mzee Jabari stood and spoke calmly. I will pay the debt. Silence. The elders turned. Even Tembi's uncle paused. Jabari continued. Whatever has been spoken between our houses, I will settle it in full. A long silence followed. Then slowly. Agreement. Not joy, not approval. Just a transaction. And like that, the marriage was restored. Not because love survived, but because debt was heavier than doubt. The weddings were not joyful. They were quiet, fast, controlled, like things being completed, not celebrated. Amara left first, dressed in cloth she did not choose, standing beside a man she no longer looked at with hope. Before leaving, she looked once toward the compound. Her eyes found Zuri's. They did not move toward each other. They did not speak. Nothing remained that words could fix. Zuri left weeks later, with the warrior who had once watched her like a challenge. She did not look back at the granary, did not pause at the fig tree, did not ask for blessing. Only Nali stood watching. And for a moment, Zuri almost spoke, but she didn't. She simply left. Years later, the evening sun stretched across another compound now, larger than Jabari's had ever been. Children ran between huts carrying calabashes. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Women laughed in the distance while pounding millet. And seated beneath the shade of a large mango tree was Nali. Older now, wiser. The lines near her eyes softened by years of observing more than speaking. Around her neck hung the beads of a married woman. Not just married, respected. Because Nali had become the first wife of a household of 6 wives. The irony of it was never lost on her. Around her sat a circle of little girls, daughters, nieces, children of co-wives. Some leaned against her knees, while others listened with wide eyes as dusk settled slowly around them. One girl asked excitedly, "Tell us the story again." Nali smiled faintly. "Which one?" "The story of the 3 sisters." The other girls nodded immediately. "Yes, the beautiful sisters. The ones who fought." Nali's smile faded slightly at that word. Fought. Such a small word for the ruin of love. She leaned back slowly against the tree and began. "We were not born from the same mother," she said softly. "But when we were little, we thought that did not matter." The girls listened carefully. Amara was gentle. Everyone loved her because she made peace feel easy. A small smile touched Nali's lips. "And Zuri." She laughed quietly, shaking her head. "Zuri spoke like thunder, even as a child." The girls giggled. Nali continued. "She was fearless, the kind of girl who would fight boys twice her size because one of us cried." "Were you scared of her?" one little girl whispered. Then answered
Nali
gently,
smiled.
"Because
Never."
sometimes people speak fear louder
She
than
loved
truth.
us too loudly to fear
Another
her.
girl asked. The
Who
wind
caused
moved
the
softly
fighting?
through the trees. Silence.
Then Nali's
settled
expression
softly.
changed slightly.
Nali looked toward the
But
distant
homes
hills
can
before
become
answering.
dangerous places.
No
When
war
love
begins
in one
competing
day.
with survival.
A pause.
The girls,
It begins
quieted.
with small things.
Nali told them
A
everything.
comparison. The
A
marriages.
whisper.
The whispers.
A moment where
The
one
fire,
sister
the
hesitates to
necklace,
defend another.
the suspicions.
Her voice softened
And
further.
slowly, the little
And before
girls
you realize
stopped
it,
hearing the story.
love
They
starts
began
asking for
hearing
proof.
a warning.
The youngest
One
girl
child
climbed
frowned.
into Nali's lap.
But
Did
why
they ever
didn't they
become
just talk
sisters
to each
again?
other?
That
Nali
question
looked at
hurts,
her for a
even
long
after
moment.
all these years. Nali hid it well. She stroked the child's hair slowly. "No," she whispered. Nali looked at each little girl one by one. Daughters from different mothers, different tempers, different futures. And suddenly, she saw herself again. Amara's laugh, Zuri's temper. 3 girls, believing love alone could protect them. It almost broke her heart, even now. So she spoke carefully, slowly, like someone placing wisdom into fragile hands. The girls fell silent. The wind rustled through the mango tree above them. And somewhere far away, in separate homes, under separate skies, lived 2 women who had once been sisters before suspicion taught them otherwise. But here, beneath the tree, Nali made sure the story remained alive. Not as gossip, not as a tragedy, but as a warning. So that one day, when these girls became women, they would recognize the vision before it learned their names.